And that's what we're going to talk about. This entire month we've been talking about walking the talk, putting into practice those principles that we talk about, that we learn, that we say we believe. And so today the principle that we're working with is really fundamental to this idea of giving up self-improvement. And this principle is the key idea that each and every one of us is a spark of the divine. We're all that. We're the God spark. We sparkle from within. And because of that, we are an original blessing. We are filled with grace. And we metaphorically all have a halo and angel's wings. And there is nothing that needs to be added, and there's nothing that can ever happen to us that will ever change, diminish, tarnish, shift, or anything else than the essential beauty of our luminous essence, that God spark that we really are. Nothing can tarnish that. Now sometimes we go through life and things have happened to us, or we've done things, and we think that we are soiled or damaged or that we can't recover from that. And I'm here to tell you, now this is a principle that we teach. One of the great gifts of this community is you don't have to believe anything we say up here. But I would like to invite you to consider this idea that you are absolutely perfect just as you are. You cannot be diminished ever, no matter what you've done or no matter what's happened to you. Nothing can ever tarnish the beauty of your radiant essence, who you really are. You're never, ever, ever, ever going to be more spiritual than you are right this minute. That's it. There's no more spirituality to get. You can't get more spiritual. No, can you get more skillful? Oh, yeah. Can you get more skillful? Absolutely. Can you rub off the rough places? Absolutely. Can you do practices that help you show up in your humanness in a more beneficial way? Absolutely. But can you ever add anything to the divinity that you are? No. You can't improve on that. It's already perfect and holy and sacred. It's who you are. Nothing is missing. There's no improvement to be made at the level of the core being. And this goes to the fundamental idea that Linda was talking about of this self-acceptance. Once we get that about ourselves, it's easy street. But I am telling you, I love what Linda was talking about, all of the ways that we get into this self-improvement, all the workshops that Tinfoil has. Yes? All the things that we do to try to improve ourselves in so many ways. Right? Now, don't hear me say that we shouldn't have a healthy lifestyle. Don't hear me say that we shouldn't eat healthy. Don't hear me say that if you're a chocoholic like I am, then maybe we should moderate that a little bit. Don't hear me say there's not some areas in our humanness where we can do a little shifting. Don't hear me say that. Don't hear me say that we can be a little more responsible with our finances, or we can be a little bit more engaged and reflective in our relationships with each other. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about this essential something that we are. Because so many of us, I believe, especially those of us who have come through this particular system of New Thought, where we are so blessed with so many ideas, right? I bet your bookshelves are as cluttered and full as mine. Isn't that the truth? Don't we have a lot of books? I know we got a lot of books, but you know why? Every single time we have a yard sale, we get a mountain of books. We get a mountain of books. But a lot of us are overread and underdone, as Eric Butterworth would say. Overread and underdone. My favorite, Eric Butterworth. I love Eric Butterworth. We are always striving to be more spiritual. Anybody see the news this weekend about Tony Robbins' most recent little problem? 50 people trying to get more spiritually aware and self-improve. Guess what happened? 40 people burned themselves trying to walk on fire. And 5 of them ended up in the hospital. See? This is what we do to ourselves, yeah? Listen to this. So I want to read from Eric Butterworth, and this is the entire topic for me today, is this idea: celebrate yourself, celebrate your beauty, celebrate who you are. And that's what this book is called, Celebrate Yourself. He says, Eric Butterworth, no matter how unimportant what you do may seem to you, it could not be done in quite the same way without you to do it. You are important, for you are God's melody of life, singing itself in the continuum. The music of the spheres would not be complete without your voice. God needs you, not as you think you should be, but feel somehow you're not, but as you are. You are a unique and wonderful individual. You are important. You are not just a statistic, but a vital part of the universe. You live in its center. You are its center. You are God's living enterprise. God has something wonderful to say through you, which can only be said as you. The cosmos will never be quite complete without you. And I believe that is absolutely the truth. I believe the universe needs every single one of us singing our unique song. We are all important. We are all sacred. We are all holy. And we just have to remember that. We have to remember our divinity while we're at the gym, while we're on the diet, while we're reading the books, while we're wearing the tinfoil hat, whatever we're doing. We just have to remember who we are, because we are the universe celebrating ourselves, right? That's it. That's it. Nowhere to go. This is it. This is it, folks. How you show up in this moment, this is it. If you want to show up spiritual and divine right now, do it. If you want to show up unskillful, you have that choice too. You have that choice too. So I put this up here today. You will probably be surprised to learn. Jamie's my 11-year-old granddaughter. Jamie and I were in the garden, and we surprisingly pulled up a weed, and it actually was a potato plant with a whole bunch of new potatoes on the bottom, enough for an entire meal. And we picked grapes, and we picked tomatoes, and we picked potatoes, and it was a beautiful display, and she said she's going to put it on her Instagram. She took a picture and put it on her Instagram. So when I looked at her Instagram with the picture of a basket of potatoes and stuff, I saw this on her Instagram account. And I thought, wow, 11 years old. 11 years old. We get so worried about being pretty, about fixing the outside, about how we show up in the world, who loves us, who doesn't love us, how much money we got, what kind of car we drive, where we live. We get so busy worried about being pretty, and then she says, let's be pretty kind, pretty funny, pretty smart, pretty strong. What do you think about that for an 11-year-old idea? Yay. 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 See, this is the thing. At 11 years old, Janie knows it's more important to live the divine qualities than to focus on this outside. Now, don't get me wrong. Janie's a cutie pie, and she's got lots of cute clothes and braids her hair and does all the stuff that teenagers do. But she gets it at the core of her being that these things are more important. Do you see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? And you know, a lot of times we just forget. We forget who we are, especially when things are tough. I'll say hi to my sister Mary Ann, because she watches our videos every week. Tomorrow's her birthday. She sent me an email this morning. Many of you know that I've been on a journey with her for about a year and a half, a very difficult journey. And because tomorrow's her birthday, she's been doing a lot of self-reflection. And you know what she said? She said, for the first time in my life, I'm happier than I've ever been before. I'm happier than I've ever been before. And you know why? Because she knows who she is. She knows who she is. She's remembering the truth of her divinity. She's gotten away from that Eeyore thing, that poor me, that pity place, that she's gotten away from that forgetful place that has her not remembering the truth of her own divinity, where she's, fearful and angry and pulled in and in a tiny little box. See, sometimes when things don't look very good, we feel like we're lonely, a lonely nobody in the world. You know how that feels sometimes? When we're not feeling really connected? I love what Robert Holden says, Glenn about happiness now, the book he wrote. He says sometimes we get a PhD in misery. Sometimes we get a PhD in misery and we are hanging on to a mistaken identity of who we are. Well, this is who I am, damaged goods. This is who I am, the victim. This is who I am, the one with whatever, the one that no one loves. This is who I am, the one that, can't keep a relationship going. This is who I am, the one whose body doesn't feel very good. We forget. We think that's it. We think we're a problem to solve of some sort, right? We forget that life is a project, and yeah, we can always make improvements and challenges and those kind of things. We always have positive endeavors that we can follow. But guess what? Guess what? I'm not a problem to solve. I'm a project. And I get to refine my project. I get to work off the rough edges, and I get to dye its hair red and have a good time. That's it. That's it. And at the core of my being, I know who I am. And I'm glad my sister Marianne knows who she is now too. Because we're constantly either plussing or minusing ourselves. We're either taking away from our idea of who we are, or we're adding to it, right? And when we add to it, it's about remembering the truth of our divinity. I'm good enough. Who says I'm not? And if anybody says I'm not, guess what? I'm not going to listen. Anybody tells me I'm not worthy, well, that's your opinion. I don't need to go with your opinion. And by the way, you don't need to have an opinion on everything. Isn't that the truth? That's the truth. So, we get a choice. When we know who we really are, we're in this human experience. We either get to go through life and do the Eeyore thing, or we get to grow through it. We get to take every opportunity, every project that comes along, graduate to a higher level of understanding about what this life experience is all about, refine ourselves, polish our hearts, as the Sufis would say, become more skillful, identify those areas where we're not skillful. I got a lot of them. And I'm working on them all the time. Practice, demonstrate spiritual mastery, as Greg Braden would say. Because you know what? My divinity is a permanent potential within me. I sparkle from within, and so do you. I have to have God's eye view of my life. Not that superficial, this is what I see in the mirror view. Not that. There's nothing missing. I've always been divine. I'm always going to be divine no matter what. And so are you. So David, go to the next image for me. One of the authors had a metaphor that I thought was perfect for this talk. You see, when we remember, we're like the sunflower that's always going toward the sun. Always turning toward the sun. To remember the truth of who we really are. To face the sun and blossom forth in that way. That's what we're called to do. Focus on that direction. You know what? The universe loves you. Just the way you are, and so do I. Thank you for listening.